What is up, everyone? Scott the TroutHammer here, and this video comes by popular request. And to tell you guys how I figured that out, so my first video coming to this place in the last month or so has just shot up in views, like over 100. So kind of figure you guys are giving me a hint to come back to the spot and fish. So we are going back to Adair Pond, and I'm still I'm still on a high from that last video I did with PK. Best bass day I've ever had. So I'm out here trying to catch some more bass. Now I haven't been out here in a while, so blackberries, got a snack. So I haven't been out here in a while, so I have no idea what the water conditions are like, but brought some jigs, some swim baits, some plastics. It's been really hot here in Oregon, and we've had really poor air quality because of the wildfires in the area and very little wind in general. So it's made sort of a greenhouse effect. It's been so muggy in the valley. It's been just humid, hot, wet heat. So when that happens, the water temperature also climbs up to a point where it's uncomfortable for the fish. And even though it's summer, when that happens, you really want to start fishing for bass the same way you fish for bass in the winter. They're going to find deeper water. It's going to be cooler, more comfortable for them, and they're going to be pretty lethargic. So they're going to be sitting down on the bottom. They're not really going to be wanting to chase prey very much. So that's why I brought the stuff I did, to just fish for bass as I would in the winter. Sort of off the bottom, fish kind of slow. Well, it doesn't look too bad. I don't see a lot of activity on the surface, but you know, that'll change. The actual sunset is supposed to be in about an hour. So once that happens, I'll switch to some top water. I brought top water just in case. You know, if I'm fishing for bass, I'm always going to bring top water. But, well, let's get out there and see what this pond has to produce for us today. All right, there's still plenty of vegetation on the bottom. So glad I didn't bring any crankbaits, but they took all the structure out of this pond. There's no more branches, down trees in this pond. It's gonna be fun trying to find the bass. I'll just put it that way. I think I'll just start out pretty simple and easy. Just a dark creature bait, Texas rigged. I think I'll just so I'm gonna let that go all the way to the bottom, and I'm just gonna sort of scoot it along the bottom. I'm going to retrieve it almost as I would a frog on the surface, but I'm doing it on the bottom, so you guys can see I've got my rod tip pointed down, and I'm twitching it toward me a few times and reeling in slack. You know, when the bass eat crawdad, that's something they look for. The way a crawdad moves on the bottom, it's going to kick up dust. They're already looking for that. And I know there's a large crawdad population in this pond. I tried jigging it a few times. So something you guys should definitely do when you come to a pond like this, I mean, look at this. There is no wind. It's glass calm across the entire pond. You know, so obviously I'm glad I brought my top water, because that has great top water conditions. But you want to pay attention to the surface and read what's happening, because with there being no wind, the fish have nothing to disguise their movements if they're even like a foot below the surface. Especially if there's a lot of bugs on the surface and you can see them coming up to eat the bugs. Windless conditions like this just make it easy. Caught me some salad. And I'm surprised, this is the first time I've had my rod spooled up with this much fluorocarbon in a long time. It's actually handling really well. Yeah, on a cast like that, when I use fluorocarbon, a lot of times it just birds nests like crazy. This is responding well. I'm actually pretty happy. And again, that's why I use P-line for all my fishing line. You know, I might try a steadier, shallow retrieve. See what's up. Yeah, look at that. Didn't even have to thumb the spool. You know, I'll say this: if you guys are looking into getting into bass fishing and using a bait casting reel, if you guys are just getting into that, you need something to learn on. These Silver Maxes are such a great reel to learn on, and it's the reel that I got most of my practice on, most of my time using. Such a great entry-level reel, easy to use, easy to learn on. You know, I've got some pretty big fish on this. Biggest fish I've ever landed on this rod was a 13-pound salmon, wild salmon too. So that thing fought. Another thing I love about it is because with other casting reels, when you release the spool, you have to turn the crank to stop the spool. This has that spool knob that stops it. So here you release it, you press that button to stop it, and it's just the same as turning the crank. You just don't have to turn the crank. That was a bite. Where'd you go? Come on back for it. Let's root around this little bit of structure over here and see what we got. There we go, that's a fish. Come on down. Oh, that's a big fish. Oh yeah. Now that's a bass, guys. Look at that. Woohoo! I left my scale and everything over here. Go back over and weigh the fish. Mad fish. Oh yeah, man, these trocar hooks. That fish was not getting free. Man. Had to get the pliers on that one. Alright guys, so that whoa, mad fish. That fish was caught on the Biwa Ultra Hog. Good plastic. Hey, you guys will be seeing me use that plastic a lot. I'd say this fish is about, maybe 3 pounds. Okay, 2. I was way off. But that's why I got a scale, guys, because I've been off on the weight of my fish a lot lately. Yeah, but check it out, nice big Adair Pond bass. Alright, get the sniff. So this fish is pretty lively. Not gonna have to revive the fish. Yeah, it was ready to go. Oh man, that fish had some sharp teeth. It chewed up my thumb. But here's the thing, guys. As PK were talking about in the last video I did, as we were talking about a lot, Oregon is not a great bass state. I mean, it just really isn't. It's a great trout state, great salmon steelhead state, especially steelhead. And we got some things that we don't really have anywhere, or that other places really don't have, like the surf perch. That's definitely a West Coast fish, and our crappie over here are probably the most reliable fish to catch, but bass really isn't a great fish around here. So when you can find bass like that around here, you're having a great day. Okay, so also catching that fish told me that they wanted it on a faster retrieve jigging, because that's what I caught it on. That slow retrieve off the bottom that I thought really isn't a factor right now. Let's go back to the spot I caught it. Well, I bumped something. I already had this rigged up with a lead weight. I couldn't tell what that was. You know, like I said before, I switched to tungstens for Texas rigs, just because you feel so much more around your lure. You know, come to think of it, that bass was also really shallow. I mean, I caught him right here. I know this spot's like 1.5 to 2 feet deep. So yeah, I'm gonna jig this a little more shallow than I normally would. Kind of pop it, let it sink, reel in the slack a few times. You know, those appendages are gonna make so much noise. Yeah, I've been fishing this spot for a while. If you guys can tell the way I'm sort of like retrieving right now, I'm still trying to vary my retrieve as much as possible. You know, I'm not going to retrieve the same way every time. I know I've said it plenty of times in videos, but it's good. It bears good repeating, you know. You know, like this. You know, vary your retrieve. Don't show the fish the same thing every time. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, I'm going to let it sit on the bottom for a minute or two. I'm just going to watch where my line enters the water. Once I see that move, I'll know if fish has it, and I'll just set the hook. Well, if that guy was shallow, I'm going to come back over here to the shallow spot. You know, this is where I started fishing tonight. A lot of times you can take the pressure off an area if you just fish a different spot for like 10-15 minutes, come back to the spot you started at, and the fish that were there that got so used to seeing your lure, they've sort of reset. So you increase your chance of catching the fish that were here. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Something bit. Alright, fishing that plastic for a while. Nothing. I think that plastic's kind of done for. Missing an antenna, missing another appendage. So, you know, switch to a little swim bait for a little while. So with this little swim bait, I'm going to keep it pretty close to the surface, because this time of night, the smaller bait fish are going to be close to the surface anyway, feeding off the surface, feeding on little bugs and whatnot. And the bigger predatory fish, the bass that I'm fishing for, they're going to be looking for those fish as meals. So I'm going to keep this shallow. You know, I'm also going to kind of, you know, while retrieving this shallow, I'm going to sort of kiss the surface with it. You know, try as much as I can to make it look like a bait fish that's actually feeding on the surface. Yeah, let's try a little top water before I head home. Let's try a 90mm whopper plopper. Good little buzz bait, something you can pop also. I know I'm breaking fishing line dogma using fluorocarbon top water, but that's the way my rod is reeled up right now. I can just keep the rod tip up, keep the line out of the water. See if I can aggravate a bigger bass into biting. And it is getting dark fast. This air quality, it's like basically permanent overcast. It is getting dark fast. I am not going to have a lot more time. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting sick of making just one fish videos. Well, I just got struck on the whopper plopper, but they didn't come back for it. Well, guys, I got a call earlier than I wanted to for this video. It got a lot darker, a lot faster than I thought it would. But I mean, you know, did what I came here to do. Caught a nice big pond bass. You know, something I don't get to do very often. Bass fishing the area I live just isn't that great, but good sized bass for what I got. That's the first local bass I've caught in 2 months. Yeah, like local I consider local to be like a short drive from where I live. I live in a pretty central spot to go fishing at a lot of the ponds and lakes around the Willamette Valley, but still pretty local for me. But still had fun. Hope you guys had fun too. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. Please subscribe if you're a new viewer. Share this video if you can. As always, tips up, tight lines, and have fun fishing.